So I know you're all hungry, but we've got plenty of time, relatively, for debate. I just want to open the discussion to the floor as well as questions, so you can actually comment as well as ask questions to the panelists. Mike over there, lady over there.
What I'm trying to say is that it's also the media, the Western media especially, that makes them much more stronger than they are. They actually don't have, if you go and listen to the Muslim Brotherhood's representatives, they don't have much claim. One of them was saying that today's Egypt is not Iran 1979. We don't claim to have an Islamic Republic. And they don't have that claim. The Western media, particularly, is trying to make out much stronger Islamic movement that there is there. And we know that people in Egypt are out there because they wanted freedom, because they want equality, because they want work and all that. And I'm not denying with the Western, especially America's policy in the Middle East, it's no wonder that there is still some justification for for Islamism in Egypt. But I think to be just to people's movement in Egypt, honestly, Islamism is not as strong as we here in the West are being to believe.
Well, I would like to comment on this. I agree with you that the Muslim brothers in Egypt are very, especially in this revolution, their role is limited and they would not win. But what I am trying to talk here is the confusion in the perception in the people. We need to reach women in particular and explain to her that what's the differences, the differences in her rights and her under a secular law or a law that is based on equality, universal. Look, the rights of women at the moment, should not be divided at all. It is a universal right, regardless of culture, regardless of everything. And unless we explain to women in particular, like for instance in case of divorce, what she is going to get under a secular law, and what she is going to get under any religious law. I agree with you. And it's not just the Western media, it is the channels. I mean, I watch Arabic television, and it scares me. It scares me the amount of these religious scholars taking the platform and speaking rubbish as if we still belong to the 10th or no century at all. That's what scares me. And that's what we should really united stand against that. This media control, so many religious. I'm not against religion. Everybody find his way to spirituality. You are free to do that. But what I am against in bringing any religion in our lives in laws, in legalizing laws. And don't forget that all of these religious laws are subject to interpretations and different interpretations, which takes a lot of money and time. And time at the moment in this era time is of an essence to us, because we cannot afford it. We cannot afford it. We want to live in a better world. We want to guarantee a better culture than the one we grew up with. Culture of fear, a culture of I'm afraid of, she is Jew, she is Christian, she is, why should I be afraid? I should not be afraid. We all are in this world to share it and be partner in building it.
Thanks for that. Nadia at the back. Yeah.
Yes, hello. I speak to a lot of Muslims on a regular basis, and we have some very nice discussions. One of the things that I like to sort of ask them because what it is in this country, there's a lot of Muslims who consider themselves to be very moderate. And you see, I have a problem with that. Because I think that it's all in their mind, basically, that they're moderate. What it is the reason why they're moderate is not because anything to do with them, I don't believe. I think it's the fact that they are not living in a Muslim country. It's just a matter of geography. Because they are here, they are basically surrounded by values that we have fought for generations to get to this point. You know, whereas the Muslim world is you know, I'm sorry to say, but is dragging itself back into, you know, going backwards, back into the 7th century. And so the thing is that, you know, I often ask these people, you know, I say, well, look, you know, I understand you're moderate. And, you know, I think I think a lot of them feel like they've discovered the Holy Grail. You know, like, unlike people in Muslim countries, they're enlightened. You know, they're different. You know, they're sort of, they know where it's at. They know what God really thinks. You know, whereas they think that the Muslims living in the Muslim world have got it all upside down. But the trouble is that really there has been no enlightenment in the Muslim world. There has been no changes in the way the Muslims sort of they have not changed their books. They have not changed the Quran. They have taken out nothing out of the Quran. They have added nothing.
Okay.
They have.
All right. Thanks for that contribution. Can we have mic for the lady at the back?
I'm Geeta Sehgal. I'd just like to respond to that. I'm an atheist. I'm a pretty ardent atheist. And I'm also obviously secular. And I think this is a space that everybody should be free to say what they like, but I have to say to you that I think you're wholly wrong in your analysis. And the reason for that is I don't know who you're talking to, but I think one of the things that we've been making, the point made very strongly from the platform, is that political movements of Islam are not all Muslim. So, you know, there are Muslims and there are political movements of Islam. There are Christians and there are Christian evangelicals, there are Christian fundamentalists, and so on and so on. And I come from a Hindu background, and let me tell you that non-monotheistic religions also have extreme fundamentalists who are also very misogynist, and so on and so forth. So I don't know who you talk to who call themselves moderate, but what the government has done here is to label people moderate who are actually members of extreme political organizations and who have appalling views. And the government took them as their partners, and as Julie said, and as other people have discussed at other onelawforall and you know, other meetings of these campaigns, is that the left has also taken these people as their partners. They're very particular people. And what's happened is that in what you call the Muslim world, and I'm not sure what that is, because there are Muslims all over the world, including in India, which is one of the largest Muslim countries in the world, except that about 80% of it is non-Muslim. So there are Muslims everywhere, and they have been part of movements against colonialism, against, you know, in communist movements, and many other things. And in fact, as I think Yasmin said right at the beginning of her talk, represent ideas that are being wiped out of this country. So that young Muslims no longer have access to the poetry and the literature that was written by secularists and communists and other people from Muslim backgrounds, some of whom remained religious, some of whom abandoned their religion, and you know, you find every range of thinking. So I think you've been talking to a very specific set of people.
Okay. I'll come back to that side. We'll have gentlemen over here. And then after that, I'm going to come back to the panel to make comments about, if you want to respond to any of the comments. Please go ahead.
Mine's a question, really. I'm a bit concerned, both with the previous panel and with this panel, that we're getting a bit unnuanced, if I can put it like that we're getting a bit sweeping generalisations. In the previous panel, there's a lot of talk about religion, and apart from identifying the Catholic Church and the OIC, and the last speaker, Yasmin, who was quite particular, there was generalisations about religion. And are we really, in a UK context, equating Anjem Chowdhury and Al-Majah Haroun with the Quakers and the ladies of the United Reformed Church? I mean, we've got to be a little bit more sophisticated than that. And similarly, in this debate, and in this panel, I'd like to ask, what do we mean by a secular state? The United States is officially secular. It separates church and state. India is officially secular. It separates Hinduism and the state. Communist China was secular and persecuted believers and did nothing more for women than any other state. Communist China, Maoist China, is secular, persecutes believers, and seems to have done nothing more for women. And Hoxha's Albania was an officially atheist state, officially completely atheist and secular, and did nothing for women either, or indeed for believers. So we need to identify what we mean both by religious in the previous panel and by secular in this panel. Could the current panel please do that?
Julie, would you like to respond, Julie, to this, to start?
It's not fair. To me, I mean, religion is the bedrock of the ideology of women's inferiority. It gives authority to the kind of traditional patriarchal governments to develop beliefs and practice about the subordination of women to our husbands and fathers, whether it's through, you know, our sexuality, whether it's about the number of children we have or don't have, and of course denies us contraception and abortion. And so, you know, in a sense, it's not so much about what a nation or a country describes itself as, whether it's secular, whether it's communist, or whether it fails to separate the church and the state. When you have a country like the UK, which has become so obviously desecularised since Tony Blair and Gordon Brown proclaimed their religious beliefs and then openly admitted that that influences policy, then you can't particularly have anything which is held up as officially secular and officially a religious state. It's about the way that it treats its women and whether or not it gives any kind of credence, such as the Archbishop of Canterbury or whoever it was who suggested that Sharia courts might actually be introduced to appease some extremists. So to me, it's not anywhere near as clear-cut and as simple as how we define a state.
Okay. Annie, please.
Well, I completely agree with what you have said about religion, and not only extremist. All religions are an ideology describing women as the second one. So it is not because you have a secular organization that you have solved the problem of women, but at least you get rid of this ideology. So it's a prerequisite. So when you say in China it's not better for women, in this country it's not better for women, but at least they get rid from that. And then you have to struggle for obtaining something. But you cannot obtain these things if these symbols, ideology, and etc. is negative. First, to win, you have to focus on the symbols. And religion is the worst one for women.